What is your name?
Chris Geyer.
Where are you from?
I was born in Detroit, Michigan, and I now live in Berkeley, Michigan.
How old were you on September 11th, 2001?
Well, that was 14 years ago, so I was 35.
Where were you on September 11th, 2001 when we were attacked?
I was at my job teaching at Stony Creek High School in Rochester Hills, Michigan.
Did you ever visit the World Trade Center in New York City before September 2001? What do you remember?
Yeah, I visited there in the spring of 1989. I went with my friend Jason Hill, and we didn't really go inside. We just went on the outside, and I was just struck with how large the buildings were. The fact that they seemed to stretch up forever, like almost into the clouds. The size of them was the thing that was the most impressive.
How did you find out about the attacks? What were you doing at the time?
Well, I had a video production course, and a kid from a different classroom came running into mine because we had TVs in all our rooms, and theirs wasn't working, and they'd heard about these attacks, so they ran down to my room to turn on the TV, and they turned it on just in time for me to see the second airplane crash into the second tower.
What is your most vivid memory of the day?
Just the fact that everything shut down. We all sat there and we watched. When the first plane hit, people assumed it was an accident of some type. When the second one hit, we knew it was different. And then just waiting until the first tower and then the second tower collapsed. And the thing I remember watching when I saw the video is you could see these little specks falling from the building, the second one before it collapsed, and you realize that those were people who were jumping. And that was just really like a chilling reality, that you're watching people fall to their death.
Were you personally connected to anyone in the towers, Pentagon, or planes? What happened to them?
I didn't know anyone in any of the planes or the Pentagon or the tower, but I did know a firefighter. My cousin Stacy was married to a firefighter named Eddie, and his battalion was one of the ones that was called to go into the tower when it was burning before it collapsed. Eddie wasn't harmed, but he lost a lot of friends. And Stacy, actually, his wife was a stewardess, a flight attendant, and she knew people, two or three of the flight attendants on one of the flights. The one, I think, that crashed in Pennsylvania that didn't actually hit a building.
What do you think of the government's reaction to the attacks?
I think they reacted about as well as you can in a situation like that. I mean, no one ever expects an attack and a catastrophe of that magnitude, and I think the way they reacted was very respectful. They acted as quickly as they could. They stopped air traffic for a few days. It stranded a lot of people, but they didn't want to take chances with more human lives. So I remember President Bush was actually in like a second or third grade classroom reading, and someone whispered into his ear what had happened. And I think that all things considered, the government's reaction was pretty good. I mean, I think they handled it as well as they could in that situation.
Do you support the additional security at airports? Explain.
Yeah, I don't have any problem with it. I think if it makes it harder to duplicate that, it's fine. It's a little frustrating sometimes, like when my grandmother was flying back home to Florida a few years ago, no one could walk with her up to her plane and get her on, and she was in her 90s. So that's a little frustrating. And, it used to be nice to be able to sit outside the gate and watch as the plane taxied up and your, friends or loved ones would come out. But I understand why they're doing it, and I don't really think it's that large an inconvenience. So if it keeps people safe, I think it's fine.
And then lastly, why do you think it is important for students to learn about September 11th?
Well, it's one of those things that I think it creates compassion in people. It is a part of American history. It's the largest attack on U.S. soil other than Pearl Harbor by an outside force, and so I think when you learn history, you can hopefully find ways to not repeat it. And I think it's important, too, that they learn about it so they understand that the people who attacked were not representative of everyone in Muslim countries, in Arabic countries, and a lot of people, there was a lot of hysteria around it when it first happened, and there was a lot of profiling, and they've realized since that, it's not something that you can look at everyone from that part of the world and think it's a problem. So I think it can teach you compassion.